Hello, friends. Welcome again. So, this is the session 3 in our Git learning. In the previous session, we have seen how to install Git and how to create account on GitHub. Also, we have seen how to get Visual Studio on our laptop, right? So, now in this session, we will try seeing like some of the Git commands which are important. Now, I have a Visual Studio open, right? Visual Studio, if you can see, I have this open, and I am on my project basically. I have even opened a terminal. I have shown how to open it by clicking this and then clicking on terminal. Now, apart from this, I have a notepad where I will be writing the things, and I have uh, I have the GitHub account which is open, right? Three things: one notepad where I will be typing, GitHub account, which is like an online repository, online portal where we will be hosting our repositories, and we have the Visual Studio where I will be doing the stuff. Okay, so how to check whether Git is installed locally or not? I can just say git hyphen hyphen version, and it should show that, right? 1 minute. Okay, it's fine. I was just seeing whether recording is happening or not. Okay. Uh, Apart from this, you can just type in Git and it will show a bunch of things that shows Git is installed properly. So after installing Git, that's the first thing that you should be looking into. Okay. Now, uh, how generally you work on a project, right? I would tell you the first scenario that you might encounter. First scenario, because if we learn with scenarios, that will give us a proper learning. You might do like you start by creating a repository in GitHub. That means what you are doing, you first create a repository in GitHub, right? And then you do the entire procedure. I will tell you what that entire things means, but the first step is when we create a repository in GitHub online portal, right? That means we create it on remote, right? Online portal, right? So what I will do is I'm here on my account which I just created. Big data by Sumit hyphen Trendytech is the name I have given. It shows joined GitHub on November 2023 because that's a new account I just created for the demo. Now what I will do is I will create a new repository. So click on, so here if you want to basically see the options you can just explore, but you can click on your profile so that you see this page and click on repositories. Right now there is no repository which are there, so you can click on new repository, and I can say for example uh, finance project. I am giving this finance project, you can give any other meaningful name, and I am saying keep it public, right? It can be private also, but since I am doing a demo, I am making it public. Let me say okay, add a readme file. A readme file will also be added, that's fine, and all of these options are fine. I can say create repository. That means when I am starting a project, I am starting it from here, right? That means I am coming to GitHub and creating a repository, empty repository with some readme file, that's okay. Readme.md, md stands for markdown, right? A particular kind of way where our stylings and all will be shown, that's fine. Now that's how I am beginning the project to start with. Now what would be my step here? I want to basically get this repository into my local. That means on my laptop, right? That means this structure or folder, so that we get hooked to this one. So we created a repo. I will write it here in Notepad. Uh, you start by creating a repository in GitHub. Okay. Now I want to. So this is the step one. I'll remove this to make it concise. Then what I want to do, whatever I have created here, I want to get it to my local. So how will I get it to my laptop? I will say git clone and I will give a path. I will just show you that. So I will go to repositories here, finance project, and here if you see, it gives you this HTTPS, this link, right? Since this is a public this thing, we can download this. So git clone and the URL is this. So if we do this, we will be able to clone this on our local laptop, right? I hope this is clear, right? So I will say, let me just see what folder I am at. I am at some other folder. So let me go one step back. I will say present working directory. I am on my desktop. That's fine. Let me create a new folder here. I will say uh, mkdir uh, fin project or finance proj. Let's say I'm just doing that. Cd finance project. Right. I've created a separate folder here so that I do all the work here in this. Right. I'll clear the screen and I will show you the present working directory. This is the new folder I just created. Now I want to connect to the remote and get this downloaded. Whatever we have, a folder and inside that a readme file, I want to get it here. So I will say git clone and the path which I have copied. From what is that path? When I go to this finance project, I just clicked on code and this is the path. And it says cloning into finance project, right? So this would have cloned this project on remote to my local from GitHub to my local. Now, how do I check that out? I will say ls and you can see finance project is coming here. This was the folder we gave, right? Okay, so I will say cd finance project. I press the tab so that it can auto complete and I will say ls. Readme is also there. Let me see if any content inside readme. uh, the readme basically has any content or not. Finance project, right? That's what it is also showing. I hope this is clear. So this means till this point we are good, right? Okay. So what we did till now, we created a project on GitHub and we cloned it onto our local, right? And this cloning is working because git command is working. If git is not installed, it will not happen. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, if I want to see the status of this, right, I can say git status of which directory I am at. I am at finance project. Okay, this is where I want it to be. That's okay. So I can say git status and it says on branch main. I will talk about what is a branch and all, right? Your branch is up to date with origin main, right? And nothing to commit. When it says your branch is up to date with origin main, origin means from where we have cloned it. I cloned it from GitHub, right, at this place. So this would mean origin. Remote is nothing but the origin. I'll write it here. Origin by convention means the remote from where we cloned, right? I cloned from this place, so it is what it's saying origin. So what it is saying, that the origin, that means on GitHub and on your local Git, things are synced. There is no difference. This means GitHub, and it's saying on your local you have the same contents as on your GitHub, right? Origin means remote. Okay. So I hope this would make sense. Now let me make some changes to README. So I will open README. Okay. It says finance project. I will I will say this project is quite interesting. I know this is not meaningful, but just for demonstration, consider this is okay. Right? I added one new line in readme.md. Now, if I say git status. So if you see, we have modified a new file, readme.md. Right? It shows that okay, there is something that is being modified. That's the beauty of your Git, that it will tell you which file you have modified. I hope this is clear. It says you have modified one file. Let me add a new file also. I will say vi, let's say transformations.py. Let's say I will say transformation 1. Right? Some transformation I am doing, let's say. Right? I created a new file called as transformations.py. Right? And also I changed readme.md. So two things I have done. I created a new file transformations.py, modified readme.md. Do not see the case. I know it's uppercase. I have put it in lower, but you got a gist of it. Okay. Now let me clear the screen and say git status to know. So git status is a command which will tell you what has changed and what are the things. I will write the command here. Git status. Now when I do git status, it says I have modified one file and there is one new file which is added, which is untracked by Git. Untracked in the sense, if I make any changes to this, Git will not be able to identify. It will not show in the modified section because it is right now a new file not tracked by Git, untracked. Right? So if you see here, if I add a new file, then it shows as untracked, right? Untracked. If I modify an existing file, then it shows modified. I hope this should be pretty much clear to you. Okay. So I have talked about what is untracked whenever we add a new file. What is modified when we actually modify a file. Okay. So you see this. So now what if I want to like fix these changes, or I want to commit these changes? So basically, whenever we make changes, right? Whenever we make changes, it is kind of thing that by default these are not staged. Unstaged it is. Unstaged. Right? These are in this thing. Right? These are basically unstaged. Next step would be we have to stage these changes, like an intermediate stage, I would say. Stage these changes. And then finally we can commit. Right? So it goes through three stages. If I modify, then basically all of these changes are unstaged. Right now it's not like ready to be committed. So we have to make it ready to be committed, then we have to stage it. Right? It's an intermediate state so that it can be committed later. Right? And once these are staged, it can be committed. Right? So the step one is uh, make changes, make changes or add new files. Right? Make changes to existing files or add new files. After this, what we will do, we will stage these changes because by default it is unstaged. By default unstaged. So we have to stage it. We have to stage the changes, right? And then third is why, second is we have to stage the changes. Why we have to stage? So that they are ready to be committed. To be committed. Committed means making them permanent or fixing it or adding it to our versioning, right? Whatever you say. And then we can commit all the staged changes. Whatever we have staged in the second phase, we can now commit. These are ready to be committed and we can use commit command to commit those. I hope this is clear. Okay. So now what to do? How by default we are at this stage where we have some existing changes, but changes not staged for commit. Right? These are changes which are not staged for commit. So first step would be to stage them. Right? How to do that? We can say git add. We can provide the file names if we want to take a particular thing, or if we want to do take all things in our current working directory, then we can say dot. Since I have two files which is readme.md and transformations.py, I am not going to do it individually. Rather, I will say git add dot so that I can stage both of these files. I'll write what I have put in git add dot. Dot means any files in my current working directory which are unstaged, right? Please stage them. Now I can now check, I can now check the status, git status. And now it says, okay, these two showing in green color, which are ready to be committed, changes to be committed. It's not committed yet, but these are staged. These are staged so that we can commit it. I hope this is clear. So we say git status, which I have shown, right? And now how to commit these changes? I can say git commit, git commit hyphen m. We have to give a message, meaningful message, making changes to readme and adding a new transformations file. I can give this comment or message. Git commit hyphen m this. Let me copy this also so that I can put on my notepad. And you can see two files change, 5 insertions, 1 deletion, whatever it is. I hope this is clear, right? So I will put this here. This is what I have done. So what I did, I modified one file, right? So I'll tell you. First thing that I did is Why I'm repeating is because if you are new to it, you will be confused. That's why I'm repeating with the intent that it should fit in your mind. So first thing I did is i modified I modified readme file and created a new transformations file, right? Then second is I wanted to commit these changes but cannot do it directly because commit is a two-step process. First you stage these changes, and then from staging area you can commit this. So how to stage, we have to say git add and then the file names which we want to stage. If we want to stage all the files in our current working directory, then git add dot. Otherwise, you can mention the file name here. And then the third thing is git commit to commit all the stage changes. And hyphen m, give a meaningful message. Meaningful message. This is how it is. So commit is a two-step process. We cannot do it directly. Two-step. First we stage it, and from staging we can commit it. It's like uh, kind of giving you that extra cushion that you do not do something wrong. Think it this way, right? How to stage it? By using git add command. How to commit it? Using git commit. Directly commit won't work, right? Okay, let me clear the screen. And now let me say git status. Git status. It says nothing to commit, working tree clean. That's good. That means no pending changes. But it also says your branch is ahead of origin main. Origin always think like your GitHub, right? On GitHub, whatever is main branch, our local branch on my laptop is one commit ahead of that remote branch. I'll write it here. It says our local branch or our local, let me not tell you branch because branch I have not taught you right now, I'll teach. So our local is ahead of remote. Local means on laptop, that is laptop, whatever git you have is ahead of remote. Remote means GitHub by one commit. And that's true also because on local we make changes which are still not there on GitHub. These changes are in our local, committed on local. Does not mean when we say commit it's going to GitHub remote repository. No, still if I go to my GitHub I will not see those. If I refresh this, I still do not see transformations.py. In README, I still see finance project, nothing else. That means it is still not having the latest thing which is there on my local, right? So, how to put these things from my local to GitHub? How do you put that? I will run git push origin main. What does this mean? I will explain you this command first before executing. Git, of course you know keyword, since we are running git commands. Push, earlier we have cloned it, right? Cloning means cloning from remote to local. Push means now local code we want to push to the remote. So git push origin. By convention origin means a repository from where you have cloned. What is that? Of course this GitHub repository you cloned from here, right? So that's the one. So origin means that one, a shortcut to that, right? A shortcut to the entire URL we had earlier. The entire URL was this one, right? A shortcut to this is origin because we have cloned from here. So we can refer it with the name origin. And in this, ideally there are multiple branches, but since we are dealing with main branch, we are saying put it to the main branch, right? Do not worry about branch mainly, but git push origin main. And this will take the code from my local and put it there. I hope this is clear. And this finance project, whatever I have created, let me even uh, show you. Let me just show you that. Uh, so basically, if you see, we can open this, right? Uh, and open desktop, whatever new project we have, right? Finance project. That's the one. We can open it here so that you can see all of it. Readme transformations.py, right? So you can check that out. Again, to open a terminal, we did this, right? And I can clear it. So that's the thing. And now if I see pwd, I am in finance project. If I see ls, right, it is finance project. So if I see git status, it says, oh, not a git repository. That means it is not tracked by git, because the folder which is inside finance project, right, the the folder which is inside, that is tracked by git actually. So anything that is tracked by git would have a .git folder. For example, if I say ls-a all, you will not see a .git folder for this, like a wrapper folder finance project. So this particular project is not tracked by git. But if I go one step inside and I say ls-a, you see a git folder, .git folder. That means it is being tracked by git. And if I say git status, of course, it says nothing to commit, but we are ahead of origin main. That's where we were seeing earlier, right? So anything that is being tracked by git will have a .git folder inside, right? I'll talk little more about it, but this there it will maintain the history and all the metadata it has to maintain regarding versioning. It will be maintaining inside this folder, which we do not have to worry about too much, but I will talk little bit about it later, whatever required. So we are now ahead of our remote, and we want to push these changes from local to remote, because in our local I have added this new line. I have also added transformations.py. These two things I have done. But on my remote, I do not see it. I do not see it at all. So what to do? I will say git push origin main. That's what I was showing you. And when you are doing it for the very first time, right, when you are doing it for the very first time with a new GitHub account, it will ask you for the credentials basically, right? It will ask you for that. So it will say the extension GitHub wants to sign in using GitHub, allow, right? And it will give you this option. You say continue, right? And you say authorize. So when we are doing it for the very first time, it will ask for authentication like this. Next time it won't. Now let's go ahead and see. I click on my profile, and then I will go to repositories, finance project, right? And here you can see we have readme.md, and let's see what it contains. It contains, this project is quite interesting, which was there on my local, right? Also it contains transformations.py, right, transformation one. So this code has come from my local to the remote now. And what command I used git push origin main. Git push is a command that means we want to push the code from local to the remote, and we want to origin means the repository, the GitHub account from which we have cloned, that way, right? And main branch, I will talk about branches anyways. So I hope I have written it here. And first time it will ask you for the authentication, you can authenticate it this way. I hope we are good here. Okay. And any thing related to authentication, I would put in my document also, in case if you face issues by any chance. So this is just one time thing. And now let me clear the screen and say git status. It says on branch main, your branch is up to date with origin main, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So we basically, what we did in this entire flow that we have learned in this session, what have we done? We basically, the first thing that we did is we created a, a we created a repository uh, on GitHub, right? Then second thing that we did is we cloned that repository on our local. Third thing that we did is we made a few changes and added new files, whatever changes we want to do. So if you are someone who, let's say, want to work on a project, right, you would basically clone that project on your local, make changes in your local, and then after that what you would do, you will uh, stage those changes by saying git add. You will perform git add dot and then git commit. So basically you will commit the changes, but commit is a two-step process. Two-step process, right? First git add dot to stage the changes, and git commit to commit it, right? But these are committed to local, that is git, right? On your laptop it's done, but it's not there on your remote, or it's not there on GitHub. So then what you will do is you will push these changes to GitHub using the command git push origin main, right? And then you will see this is all perfect. I hope this is clear. So that's what we have learned in this session. We have seen the entire flow, but in this case, the project starting is happening from GitHub, right? From GitHub. In my next session, I will show you what if, or what you have to do so that your project starts on your local rather than GitHub, right? Here, the first point was creating a project on GitHub. Now I will tell you in the next session that how you start a project from your local and do all of these steps. So with this, I hope that you liked the session, you learned something new out of it, and in the next session, let's continue our learning and it will be even more interesting. Thank you all.